painful. This is not going to happen again. Next game against Egypt, I didn't see Clive, and we lost the game. We had already qualified, but he lost the game. So superstitious, there he comes down for the Algeria game. And as it went through the tournament like that, he said, no, okay, I'm here, hit me. And as it went on and on, I used a bigger spoon, and his testicles got bluer and bluer and bluer. Sorry, Yvonne. Yeah, so that was a really wonderful man. Everything's been said already. Whatever he touched in the football circles turned to gold. Didn't back too many winners on the horses, Alaf. And I've got a saying that better people, and Clive was certainly a better people. Better person, better people. And in this room, you just see all the better people here today that he's touched and been with. And God bless you, Clive, in a better place. To all the players, I salute you. And we will continue to remember this giant of a man. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Captain. Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Mkuku. As Mkuku, no Mkulu, manje, but I think whichever one it is, it still works. As I heard him giving advice to Doc Khumalo about what to do and what not to do. There are certain protocols that at times you got to break, and I think this is the one that we are breaking simply because there's a protocol that can't be broken that has to involve the family and the rights of Clive Barker. So, Doc Khumalo, I'm going to give you time. I don't know how many hours you need just to quickly get on stage. And then with that in mind, it's significant, ladies and gentlemen, because I also believe that we haven't given this class 96 the due respect. I don't think we've given them the due regard that they deserve. You look around the world, Man City win a treble. Everything comes to a standstill. There was a Kalamazoo Mokoni, the late. Not too many people knew about him being one of the first black people to ever set foot at Barcelona. They called him. He has a street named after him. He has a book written about him, fully South African, but South Africans know nothing about him. And that is an indictment that I don't think, although we are guilty already, it should happen. So I'm going to call upon some of the members all the members of the 96 squad to please assemble around Clive Barker's remains in respect while Doctor says a few words. So every member, I will ask you, as I say, I'm breaching protocol here, but forgive me. Clive Barker would have done the same. So please, guys, I'm not going to call you by name. You're scattered all over the place. But please, can we gather around your coach, your father? Let's pay respect, and I'll ask Doc Khumalo to say a few words while that is happening. All of them could make it. Could I also, out of respect, ask some of the former professional football players as well to please join in, because I think they led the way, they set the pace. So feel free to join these esteemed members of Bafana's 96 squad. Doc Khumalo, I don't know what's going to make you comfortable, sir. Do you want me to hold this thing, or are you going to manage?
No, I'll manage.
Okay.
Oh yeah, what time is it? Good afternoon. I didn't expect to say a word, but because this is not just a coach that we bid farewell to. He's a father figure to many soccer players or former players. I just want to say that this man deserves better. We should have acknowledged him while he was still alive. Anyone in this hall can tell me which coach has achieved much as Clive did, then I'll agree. At the moment, I strongly believe that we failed him as a nation. Not only 1996 players managed to go for greener pastures, but players that he has coached. And at Sundowns is one player that Clive coached and is doing well. I would like to say to Clive, thank you very much for putting the smiles in all South African faces. From 4x4s to be crowned champions within 4 years. Thank you, Clive, for believing, because I think Clive deserves better. The reason I'm saying this, in '94, all the guys that were there will attest to this. He said to us, he wants to win the Africa Cup of Nations in 1996. And in '98, he will qualify for France. And it's exactly what happened. I don't know what to say anymore, but I just want to say to him, you have made icons in South Africa. You have given us an opportunity to go play overseas in 90% of the squad of 1996. You were a good husband, a father, and a grandfather, like a father to us. We love you, Clive. I don't want to say go well, but it's okay. God bless Clive. Thanks.
All the legends gathered around here. And I think for all of South Africa, as this is beamed right across the country and the continent, ladies and gentlemen, that we get to honor people while they're still alive. They live, they're in front of us, they live, they've left a legacy. They've all been through one common denominator, which is the tutelage of Mr. Clive Barker. Legends, young and old, good to see you. Let's congregate again after this. Give them a big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. A brief moment, we got to understand the depth and the meaning of what a transformative life means to the football players. I think we all know, and probably the two gentlemen that are left here next to Clive, we might know him, or both of them, as having played for Kaizer Chiefs. But it was again through the guidance of Clive Barker that they were able to go to Ellen Road and play for Leeds United. Doc was able to go to the A for Columbus Crew, went to South America, and the legacies continue. And I could say the same for many of the gentlemen that were here standing in front of us a short while ago about their illustrious careers. So again, a plea to all South Africans and the leaders that are given an opportunity to make change. I think baby Jake Matlala, the family, are still waiting for the many promises that were made to them at a funeral. Let's not do that to people. Let's end that and do better. Lucas Katebe, I appreciate you, sir. Doc Khumalo, thank you very much indeed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think Mark Leeson alluded to the effort that Clive Barker made in terms of riling up the fans when he was coaching AmaZulu. The love affair with AmaZulu continued through many, many years. It would be, Hebe, and then he would point to them, Hebe, Hebe. And when he said it the way you guys are saying, it would be angry because he can't hear. He's not hearing you right now. We want to shake it a little bit. Hebe! Hebe! Angishe Kubabsandile Zongo, the president of AmaZulu Football Club. Let's welcome him on stage.
Usut. Uyayivubela. Uyayivubela. Lupho usut angeliboni. Uyayivubela. Uyayivubela. Thina AmaZulu asimzumumu, asimzumumu, siyamqonda. Thina AmaZulu asimzumumu, asimzumumu, siyamqonda. Siyabonga. To the family of Clive Barker, MEC Duma Mtombeni, SAFA President Danny Jordan, to the leadership of the PSL present, also to supporters present in their numbers, I truly appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, so much has been said about Clive Barker from Saturday to today. And I wouldn't want to waste too much time giving my own interpretation. But all I know is that if I were to describe the dog, Barker, very succinctly, then the acronym AMAZULU, AmaZulu, will come very handy. Clive Barker was ahead of his time. I think Mr. Gleason put it very well. It was 1974. In the early 70s, when I was doing primary schooling at Umlazi, Clive Barker was a familiar face in his physical appearance at Umlazi. People like Professor Ngubane, think those days were still playing for Umlazi G Bombshell, roaming the streets there. He was ahead of the time. It was not familiar to see a white person roaming the streets in African townships. But Clive was there. He was embraced, and he embraced the people. Under that such an affiliation was to be rewarded handsomely all his life up until today. We loved him. Clive Barker M was motherhood and apple pie stuff, what I'll call salt of the earth. Truly special. You could not talk about love in South African context, could not talk about all the great attributes that South African people are renowned about without the name Clive Barker featured. It was truly special. The achievements of 1996 are just one of the testimonies of how special Clive Barker was. A, he was authentic. He was wearing a tracksuit despite the great prowess and success he had in the field. And he would ask, Clive, why don't you put on a suit? I'm comfortable. Wearing a suit will not be a better coach. Even the manner in which he celebrated, not just clapping of hands, nothing wrong with clapping of hands, but Clive Barker would be animated on the touchline, celebrating with ordinary folk, authentic. He was zestful, full of energy and enthusiasm. Need I say more? He was an embodiment of what we call Ubuntu. I am because we are. At all times, Clive will elevate the greatness of his players above his own. He will talk about the class of 1996 as if they were coaching themselves. Yet we know that he had a physical and a very personal and very powerful presence among them. Humility flowed through his veins. He loved. Even when he was not coaching, he was not playing, he was associated with the sporting brands. Because he loved his craft. He loved his people. He loved his teams. Again, he was loyal. That he was married to Yvonne for so long, and his family speaks so lovingly about him. That's the loyalty of a man. I've not heard anything said about Clive and associated with betrayal. He was loyal. He's an icon, a living legend, and living beyond the grave. And I'll say most importantly, Clive was Usuthu through and through. He embraced our way of doing things. When AmaZulu was playing, Clive wayencinda, equifa. Sometimes we intimidate his opponents by pretending to be throwing some muti. That's Clive. His blood was green. And at Lesotho, we loved Clive. And it is a fact. The most successful coach for Lesotho ever. And it is no wonder that the last cup we lifted in 1992, who was sitting on the bench, Barker. And now that he's our ancestor, when we go to him, Samo, we'll also call on his name, Clive Barker, Kulumandota. Make it happen. We need another cup. And so does Bafana. In closing, I want to recognize my predecessor as president and chairman of AmaZulu. He's here with us. Tinage, we're the only team in this country which is celebrated through song. There's a song about AmaZulu in every genre. You talk to Amanda Black, he says AmaZulu. Ethi vulega, vulega, vulega AmaZulu. Siyemcimbini asemakhaya. Sithi thina AmaZulu asimzumumuntu awu siyama. Thina AmaZulu asimzumumu siyamqonda. Even in gospel, ukhona usisikholela yalazicula. Kuthiwa nje AmaZulu athembe lona. Kanti nathi sithembe lona. You'll go on and on and on. AmaZulu athembe lona. Nathi sithembe lona. AmaZulu athembe lona. Nathi sithembe lona. Kamelihle, kamelihle, kamalika Jesu. Siyabonga. So in those few words, Clive Barker, you are gone. You are not forgotten. You shall never be forgotten. At AmaZulu, you occupy a very special part in our hearts, and we love you. Farewell, dear brother. Until we see you again. Thank you.
Siyabonga Mongameli. Thank you very much, Sandile Zungu, President of AmaZulu Football Club. He has a mission for AmaZulu to win the domestic league. And I think we're going to give it a few more years, according to him. Those were his words when he took over from the club. From Ubab Sokela, when he did. He will live by that, He's not a successful businessman by chance. They set targets, they aim for the targets, and they achieve what they need to achieve. And we wish you well, Baba. Thank you so much for those kind words. I think a winner in many, many people's minds and their hearts, Clive Barker, resonates and has spoken very fondly and proudly of KwaZulu-Natal, spoken very fondly and proudly about eThekwini. And I think it's only proper that we allowed a message on behalf of the KZN Sport Confederation. Mr. Tami Mkhunu, ngasondela. Ngasaba ukuyishaya izandla ke ngoba manje hayi akusiyinkonzo siyabonga.
Thank you, Program Director, Directors. I was worried when Robert came back to the microphone because I was happy that I was coming after Ukwabini, so they would be adjusting the microphone. I would like to recognize the family of Clive Barker, recognize the political leadership, especially the government leadership, both provincial and nationally. Also would like to recognize sports leaders, particularly the football fraternity. Also would like to recognize the former professional players who saw it fit to come and say farewell to the big dog. So would like to recognize all people coming from the different walks of life who felt that Clive Barker for football. So that I would not read in the newspapers that I did not speak well. Let me recognize so that I'm safe. Being part of this gathering is like being part of the crowd that is watching a burning library. We know that a library has got a wealth of knowledge, and today we are seeing a wealth of knowledge leaving us. But what is important is that whilst the father of that knowledge is living, but he has multiplied himself amongst many people out of this room. Gwabini indicated that Clive Barker embraced the African culture, particularly the Zulu culture. I remember, I think the late 70s, when I was still a young football follower, and Clive was coaching Durban City, and it was going to play against Orlando Pirates. He appeared holding a goat, vowing that Pirates will not win the game. If Pirates wins the game, he will present Jomo Sono with that goat. He never said money or anything, a goat. And a goat is very important in the Zulu culture. And that was part of his mind games. And I don't want to dwell much on that one, but I think Jomo Sono had the hardest game of his life, with Rodney Charles chasing him all over the field. He was a central defender, but in that particular day, he was. So that was part of the art of Clive Barker. So as KwaZulu-Natal, we are very proud that we had this marvelous personnel coming from our province. We hope most of them will take and pick up the spear that has been left by Clive Barker and continue where he ended. Clive Barker, even in his twilight years, was still involved a lot in development. He has been part recently and the latest, being part of the Under-13 Build It program, spearheaded by AmaZulu, supported also by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture in the province. He never missed the provincial tournaments in particular. He would be there. To the family, I just want to pick up a short talk that one man was dreaming, walking along the beach. Whilst he was walking along the beach with God, he realized that on the sand there were two sets of his and those of God. But he realized that at some stage, some problems and challenges, only one set of footpaths was there. And then he asked God, God, why were you always with me when I was having good times? But when I had troubles, you are not there. Because now there's only a single person's footpaths that are there. God said, I realized that it was too tough for you to walk yourself. It's where I picked you up. And the set of footpaths that you are seeing, it's not yours, it's mine as God. I walked for you because you could not walk there. Trust God that He will take you through out of this. Thank you very much.
But thank you so much indeed. I think once again, just espousing to the family and everybody who's gathered here today, the true meaning of a man who did not care from what walk of life you were from. As long as you're a human being, he would acknowledge you, give you the kind of warmth that I think we all need. There will be a performance shortly, but before we get there, let me invite on stage. I know that he's been traversing the world, asking the world to do what they did in 2010, to allow us to host the FIFA Women's World Cup here in South Africa. And I know that Desiree Ellis and her band of Banyana Banyana players are preparing. They're in camp right now to go. I think it's within 40 days or so left before the kickstart of that. And it's important that I mention that because the women have done so well. And you talk to Desiree Ellis, and every interview you do with her, she'll never not mention, if it's a lengthy interview, the contribution and the kind of impression that Clive Barker left on her. And that is why, even at a female level, they are African champions. And as they go through to this World Cup, they don't go through there as passengers, but they go through with their reputation to do well and fly this flag of South Africa. So I'm going to invite the president of the South African Football Association, Dr. Danny Jordan, to please come on stage to address us, as well as the Barker family.
The Barker family, Yvonne, Clive's wife, John and Gavin, and all the members of the Barker family, the members of the class of 9, Clive's special team, members of the provincial government. I heard Chief Milo, Non-Konyana, Joy, Saddam, Bota, and other supporters, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, fellow mourners. The South African Football Association would like to extend its heartfelt condolences to the family on behalf of all of our members. I'd like to express our deepest condolences to the wife Yvonne and to the children and grandchildren lost on this sad day shared by all of us and shared by our nation. It takes a special person to achieve special. Clive Barker was special. What he achieved was special. It related his achievements, his undoubted success, and his special humanity. So I want to speak about Clive Barker's contribution in a period where the country needed social integration, nation building, and creating new national teams on a non-racial basis. compare Clive Barker's team from 1994 to the end of his term. And I think the image was here, the photo was there of that team. And bring any other national team of this country in the same period, 94. You put up Barker's 1994 Bafana and put any other national team. And you can see that Clive Barker knew what this nation wanted, knew what would truly represent the nation's team, an integrated national team. And how did he build the team? And the team was built in probably the most difficult circumstances, because the team's average age was in the late 20s and even in the early 30s. That was in 1994. It meant that those players played in 4 separate national associations at the time. We had 4 national associations in South Africa. We had the NPSL, SANFA. We had the FPL Federation. We had the NFL, FASA. And we had SASA, NSL. And if you look at where those players started and where their development started as young players in the 80s, it was in 4 separate associations. So it is probably the most difficult job for any coach to bring players together with such diverse experience, such diverse and maybe even conflicting youth. And then he had to bring it back to a single team. So what did Clive do? Clive did not start building a team. Clive started building a family. And you can see the concept of a family and then the concept of a united team. And you see this concept of family in the 1996 team. I went to Sizwe Motohung's funeral. The family was there. Paul Masinga's funeral, the family was there. Shoes Maseo's funeral, the family was there. Clive Barker's funeral today, the family is here. So that strong underlying concept that Clive built, that you are the family first, and then you are a team, I think is one of the fundamental reasons for success of Clive Barker. We must also know that these players only came into one association in 1991 when SAPA was formed. Before that, there was not a single football controlling body in the country, 4 separate ones. And that's where they grew up as young players. So when Clive came in 94, he realized that this matter must be addressed first. It is no wonder that Nelson Mandela embraced this team. He either phoned, personally visited the team in the hotel, or actually came to the stadium. But he always was in touch because he knew that Clive was building not just a team, he was building a nation. He was integrating the people of our country. And so it's a lesson for all of the coaches. Come from different places. Your players come from different places, different experience in different geographical areas. And also a lesson to us that leaders can come from anywhere. Don't look for players or leaders in one place only. The youngest player of that team, at the age of 23, was Sean Bartlett, was the youngest player in the team. And only yesterday, Sean Bartlett achieved what Clive will be very proud of. To consecutive time, his team We want to wish him all the best for the new season coming. If we can see where Nelson Mandela, F.W. de Klerk, His Majesty King Zwelithini, actually sits on the grass with a football. There is no national team in this country that can produce that photo. It's impossible. Where will you see a national team with two presidents and a king? I don't know whether they were kneeling in front of Clive, but Clive was standing at the back looking over them. So maybe they were kneeling, recognizing Clive's special achievement. And so you can see the impact that Clive had. And when Nelson Mandela arrived, the first thing he asked, is F.W. coming? F.W. must be here. And when the match was over, and of course when the second goal came, it was a huge celebration. And they walked down together and sat on the grass together with a team behind them. You are not going to see another team with a trophy with a king and two presidents on that photo. It's not going to happen.